Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the situation report of the SITREP for the day of 980-30 of October. And we're going to start off with the Kursk front. The situation generally did not change much in the Kursk front, except that the Ukrainians actually launched an offensive over on the eastern flank. So the Ukrainian forces attacked at Martinovka and Mikhailovka, according to the information from the Russian sources. And this is surprising. As I mentioned before, the Ukrainians continue to focus on not Ukraine, while Ukraine continued to bleed Ukraine. I'm not sure if you understand what I mean. So over on the western flank, the clashes continue with Russian forces totally clashing with the Ukrainians. Fighting is reported at Novoivanovka, Lyubimovka, Nizhny Klin, Darino, and Nikolaevo Darino. Ukrainian forces basically clashed almost exactly the same place. This is based on the Russian Defense Ministry's information. Novoivanovka, Nizhny Klin, Darino, and Nikolaevo Darino. The one at Lyubimovka is by the Russian sources. Russian Defense Ministry basically mentioned the other four, and they also say the counterattack is on the other four. So this is very active clashes in this area, Novoivanovka, Nizhny Klin, Darino, and Nikolaevo Darino. And there is some frontline changes over at Novoivanovka with geolocation of Russian forces in a new position, showing that the Russians have actually probably advanced in this area here in Novoivanovka. So otherwise, that's it from the Kursk front. Nothing at Noviput. And we're going to move on to the Kupiansk front. Kharkiv front. Moving to the Kharkiv front, there is fighting reported over in a few places. I can't fit them all in. So over on the western side, we have fighting reported over at Onirobivka, across the border. So some fighting reported here. There is also fighting reported towards Hoptivka, in the Zuralevka region west of Lipsy. And so yeah, that's nothing much. Then we have fighting reported over at Voschansk. So this is usual, but I don't think this is much. It's probably just skirmishes. So that's about it. So we move on to the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, there is fighting reported only at Petropavlivka. Some frontline changes reported at Stepova Novosilka, with Russian forces geolocated to be attacking Ukrainian forces in the southern flank of Stepova Novosilka. So this actually acknowledged the reports about fighting over here in yesterday's SITREP. So that's all coming from Kupiansk. At the Pischany front, we have a lot of fighting. The Russians are concentrating in these areas here, with fighting reported at Novosilka, Pischany. There's a chance that this report of fighting at Pischany might be referring to this Pischany, but the reality is that we can't tell, because both are called Pischany, just nearby. So it could be also Pischany attacking northward, Novosilka, which makes a little bit more sense, but we really do not know. So Novosilka, Koliniskivka, Kurakhove, Zaporizhzhia, and Vuhledar. Fighting is reported at Berestove, Lozova, and Stemakivka. And the Russian Defense Ministry, the Russian Defense Ministry actually announced the capture of Kurakhove. So this probably most likely is going to be accurate because of the tide of war in this area here, but you can see this is a lot of arrows. The Russians are really going all out in this sector. Moving, I just realized Lisna is stinky, Lisna stinka, anyway, moving into the Sverdlovsk front. In the northern flank of the Sverdlovsk front, we have fighting reported at Vishneve, Zeleny High, Peshotravneve, and Nadia. So this is also interesting because this also looks very concentrated. This is a totally different direction. So in this attack, the fighting is moving towards Borova. This is the target. So previously, the fighting was moving towards Kurakhove from the Pischany front. So now we are seeing the very similar situation developing, but towards Borova. So we're going to continue to monitor. Borova links all the way to the crossing over at Horokovka. So this is the target. We move into the southern flank. Southern flank of the Selydove front, fighting is reported at Kharkiv and towards Katerinivka. Geolocation of Russian forces north of Makiivka doesn't change anything, but just a Russian presence around here, around there confirmed. And over at the Kremina front, this is Kremina. There's fighting reported at Terny, Zaporizhzhia, as well as Siverskyi Forestry. Geolocation of airstrike at Terny was actually located. So that's all. Over in the Siversk front, we have fighting reported at Bilohorivka, Verkhomokyamsky, and Siversk. Shelling is reported at Riznikivka as well as Nikiforivka, but those are no Russian Defense Ministry report about striking the rear positions, not very important. So that's all from Siversk. We move into the Bakhmut front. In the northern flank, we have fighting reported at Zaliniansky, Kurakhove, as well as Chasivya. So that's all. Moving in the southern flank, we only have fighting reported at Oleksandro Shutiny. It could be coming from this northeasterly direction. So because we can't tell, there is still Bilohora and Dilievka that is not captured. So there's a high chance that the Russians actually advance in this area and they are attacking towards this settlement like this. So that's all from the Bakhmut front. Over at the New York front, everything just went super quiet. There's only fighting reported at Oleksandropil. Totally no reports of fighting in the Toretsk, New York region. Very, very peculiar. And no one reported about it. Not the Russians, not Ukrainians. So we move into the Pischane front. So over at this Pokrovsk sector, the Russian forces, this is the Pokrovsk front at the Pokrovsk sector. Russian forces are attacking at Mariolubivka, Promin, towards Manokhrad, Krutia, Novosilka, Sukiya, as well as Lisivka. So this, as you can see, this is a pretty big, this is one big arrow attack. So one major attack in that sense. Geolocation of Russian forces having some success north of Mykolaiivka. So that's about it. Fighting pretty much, the front line did not really change much in this area here, as the Ukrainians have two major cities to help to defend this line, to resupply, reinforce. So this is going to be a very, very difficult place to defeat for the Russians. And moving south, over at Selydove region, we have fighting reported at Kharkivka, Vishneve, Selydove region, as well as Novodimitrivka. Frontline changes at Novodimitrivka, small one, and we're going to zoom in this area here. So the Ukrainian mapping have confirmed that the Russian forces have captured Selydove. So we can now confirm that the Russians have captured Selydove for sure, 100% now, and they have the Ukrainian mapping have considered the rest of Selydove as under Russian control. The Russians have fully capturing all of this area here. This also extends to Vishneve, which the Ukrainians also now considered to have lost to the Russians. So the Ukrainian lines now look something like this, with the fighting now moving towards Kharkivka. So great success for the Ukrainians as they continue to advance in the reverse direction. And so we move into the south in the Kherson region. And the Kherson region also calamity have struck. Fighting is reported at Kremina Balka, Novosilka, Ilienka, Oleksandropil, Khostre, and Kurakhove. The Ukrainian mapping have considered that Zoriane has been captured by the Russian forces. So, and in their map changes is very, very huge. Based on geolocation, we can confirm that the Russians have captured the northwestern part of Kurakhove. However, the Ukrainian mapping came out with a totally different mapping. They considered the eastern part of Kurakhove. Almost the entire east of Kurakhove is fallen. This includes Zoriane. So Russian forces captured Zoriane and continue to capture the rest of the eastern part of Kurakhove and some part of Oleksandropil, whereas through the geolocations, we know that the Russian forces have advanced in the north, which means that the Ukrainians have left with only 1/5 of Kurakhove left, and they will have to redraw through Vovchenka to safety. But given the speed of the advance, as I mentioned before, I don't think the Ukrainians are defending at all. I think there will be only very, very few troops inside. If there is any, most likely they have all withdrawn from Kurakhove, and the Russians are just simply advanced, house by house, street by street, clearing the city, and they have to be careful of booby traps and mines. So even if the Ukrainians totally evacuated the city, the capture will take a bit of time, a few days, because the city is pretty big. And so the Russian forces is basically conquering the city without much fighting. That's what I think. So we're going to probably see the fall of Kurakhove tomorrow. So over at the Kurakhove region, the fighting is reported at Kurakhove, Maximilianivka, and towards Donets. So that's about it. There's nothing particularly special around this area here. Geolocation of Russian forces attacking Kurakhove was geolocated. We move into the this area of calamity as well. So much calamity. So we focus on this part first. So along this Uspenivka sector. So this now Uspenivka sector. So Russian forces are attacking Antonivka, Katerinivka, Yelizavetivka. Shelling is reported at Romanivka, and fighting is reported at the region of Vuhledar as the Russians continue to try to expand control around this settlement. So that's all. No frontline changes, but I believe there is movements of the front line, just that it's not reported. So we're not going to call this the Uspenivka sector. Over at the Velyka Novosilka sector, okay, not really. So we are still pretty much on the other flag of the Uspenivka sector. So in this area here, I have to zoom out because it's so big. Russian forces have has captured everything in the salient southeast of Novosilka. This is mapped by the Ukrainian side as the Russian forces continue their attack towards Maximivka, and they were pushing at Vuhledar as mentioned earlier. So if I zoom in, so you can actually see Maximivka is in the north. So the Russians are now already pushing northward in that direction. It could also coming from the Yasna Polyana direction. That is also possible. So the Russian pushing up. And as I mentioned, it's not possible for Ukrainian forces to be here, because if not, then they are kind of stupid. So the Russian forces basically fill up the gap around here, straightening the front line a bit over Novosilka, which the Russians have captured. So that's all for this area here. Over in the Velyka Novosilka sector, this is Velyka Novosilka. Russian forces are attacking towards Blahodane as well as Rivnopil. So some fighting around here. Not sure this is going to lead to something big. Tentatively doesn't feel like it. We move into the Zaporizhzhia front. Zaporizhzhia front, something interesting had happened. We have a totally new direction of fighting. For the first time in a long time, fighting is reported at Sharifne. The last time was in July, and then at Velyka as well. The last time was in September. Haven't seen fighting in this area for a long time. Part of the Kharkiv sector with the Russian fighting at Sharifne and Velyka. I wonder if this is going to become a serious push, but this definitely going to draw Ukrainians attention, because if they break through from this area, everything will be for naught. Geolocation of airstrike at Tomashka, but that's about it. And that's all from this Zaporizhzhia front, and we move into the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, there is only geolocation of shelling. This is not geolocation. This is shelling at Odradokamyanka, Tokarivka, and Mikhailsky. Fighting is reported in the Pridniprovsky direction as usual by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry report. So just shelling like this in the Kherson front. So Kherson is so that's it. So this is the situation report, or the summary for the day of 9/80 for the 30th of October. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.